Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 6 of Wake Up with Giants Radio. I am so excited to have in the studio today with me Coach Al Lamar Norwood and the smart doctor, Dr. Rachel Smart. And today's episode is mental nutrition. You are what you eat. And I'm so excited to hear about what these giants have to say about mental nutrition. I have tons of questions myself. So I hope all of you out there have questions as well. Go ahead and say hello.
Greetings, everyone. This is Coach L. I'm excited to be you, excited to share, excited to dive into what your mental nutrition or what your mental plate looks like.
Mm-hmm. And hello, I'm the smart doctor, Rachel Smart, and I'm excited to give back. We all are wanting to have the best health. We want to have the best mindset, and they go together. And we're really looking forward to some of your comments. We'd love to play off some of those things that you're struggling with as we go through and navigate this topic. It's a powerful topic, and it's very critically important.
Yeah, I'm so excited. We have about 3 minutes here before we go live on Access Radio. So if you are watching and you'd like to join the chat over on Access Radio, please do go to accessradio.ca/country-music. I'm on the chat there. I've got it going on my cell phone, and we will answer all of your questions in that chat or on the chat right here in our Facebook groups. Nick Smith is here. He says, hello, Giants. Mancheri is here, and she says hello as well. Hello, my friends. I'm excited to ask Coach L tons of questions today and to listen and learn from him, because I know Coach L has helped me in the past mentally when it comes to my physical goals and my health goals. And Coach L for me has really helped me to uncover mental blocks that were stopping me from reaching my physical goals. And I'm going to say that again, friends, because that blows my mind. Mental blocks that were stopping me from reaching my physical goals. So I hope that that's something that we're going to touch on today, because it was very eye-opening and incredible for me.
Yes, I'm excited. Definitely looking forward to diving into that. That's something that really been the key or foundation I love doing. So just everybody, if you have any questions, definitely put them in the chat, and we're more than happy to share and kind of dive into some of that mental nutrition.
Hugh Jacobson is here. Thanks for joining us, Hugh. Hugh is always here supporting us, and we appreciate your support, my friend.
Yes, hello, Hugh. He's amazing. He's always given back to our tribe of giants and in a giant way. Thank you, Hugh.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. Yeah, thank you to everyone who's showing up today. Really appreciate it, because obviously this wouldn't be what it is without the giants who take part and share and participate. So thank you all for showing up.
We just got half a minute, here, and then we're going to go live on our radio show on Access Radio. For all of our Facebook and social media watchers and followers, when we do go live on the show, we have an intro and an outro that we play. So you might hear us go silent for a minute while our intro plays on the radio. We'll chat you up as much as we can in between. It looks like Nicole is here. She says, hello, my beautiful people. Hello, beautiful Nicole. Thank you for joining us today.
Hey,
I've got the dancing today. I don't know what's going on. I'm excited about this episode, and I'm like dancing away in my chair, and there's no music. It's crazy. Nicole says, so excited for this episode. So am I.
Hey, Nicole. And we will look for your comments too.
Yeah, I'm like dancing in my chair here, and there's no music. All right, we're going to get started, my friends. So our intro is just playing live. And as soon as that's done playing, I'm going to open up our mics. Nicole says, this girl's doing the same thing. I'm dancing and drinking my tea. I forgot my hot water upstairs, Miss Nicole. But I am dancing. Oh, I'm chair dancing. That's my signature move, chair dancing.
That's acceptable.
Yeah. Couple seconds here and we're on. Welcome, friends. Welcome, friends, to Wake Up with Giants Radio. Today is episode 6. I am Lady Luck, your moderator, and I am so excited to be joined in studio here with Coach Al, Lamar Norwood, and the smart doctor, Dr. Rachel Smart. These two are some incredible giants. And as you know, we are a part of the League of Giants. There are 9 of us that make up the League of Giants. And these two incredible giants here, they are our health coaches. They are here today to talk to us about mental nutrition. You are what you eat. And I'm going to tell you, friends, I love what these two giants have to offer and their perspective on nutrition and healthy eating and being healthful overall, and how our mental state affects our health and well-being. So, hello, Dr. Rachel Smart, and hello, Coach L. Please say hi.
Greetings. Hello out there to everyone.
Yes, so it's exciting to be able to see all you. We want to hear your comments. Thanks for showing up, and those that will follow after. We're very looking forward to hearing you, but also sharing with some things with you with what's worked for us and what 22 years for me. And Lamar, how long has it been for you with your coaching and trainings?
Going on 7 years now. So 17 years being able to help people and grow, and in the process of doing that, and in my own growth has helped me to help other people grow on just the physical aspect of health, fitness, and nutrition.
Yeah, do you want to go ahead and start us off, Rachel, and let us know, or Coach L, let us know first of all what your definition of mental nutrition is. What does that mean to you? What can you tell our listeners about mental nutrition if they've never heard that term before?
I can go ahead and start a little bit to kind of go where we're going with this episode and what we thought it would give value to. But we all know, health is the greatest wealth, but it has many components. And I know if we look at our lives, what we put into our minds has much to do with our body than some of the things we put in our physical body versus our mind. And it is what's weighing us down, and some of the struggles with mental nutrition or mental obesity. At Lamar, we talked about this in our trainings before, was things that may not be true, but may be true to us. And what's eating us, it's not all about what we're eating, it's how we're eating and how we're showing up, what we're hating, what we're hustling, and what pain we're going through. And it's really the mind-body connection. And I think that we're going to have a great time together talking about that. And Lamar, share with you what your ideas is this mental obesity or mental malnutrition, and how success really begins with the thought.
Right. So those are 2 terms that I began to work with my clients with probably about going on 4.5 to 5 years now, understanding the mental obesity. So, and we think of obesity, we normally think of a person who may be large, obviously a person who has an excess amount of weight beyond what they should carry in terms of being healthy. But a lot of the times that stems from coming from a place where the things that we're consuming mentally. So what are we being told? What are we being fed in our mental nutrition? What did somebody tell us growing up early in our lives that we held on to, and we've allowed that thing to just digest in our mind, but yet it sat there for years, and now we've kind of had like a mental regurgitation of that thought going over and over and over. So now we live in that place where those mental battles begin to weigh us down, and we carry those things. And those are the blocks that prevent us from going into a physical situation where we're looking to improve our health. Those are the things that prevent us from becoming fit and healthy. Or if we do become our version of fit or healthy, we can't maintain it, because if we take someone and put them in a $1 million corporate environment, and they have on a $1,000, $2,000 suit, but they haven't been prepared to do the job of a CEO, it doesn't matter how you dress them on the outside. They are not going to be equipped with the knowledge and the information to do the job of a CEO.
I love that. I love the way you share that, because it's really the managing the biggest pieces, the inner work that affects the outer work. And also we're going to go later as we're talking about things today. It's, healthy sometimes we think it only is when you're fit, like fit is what the ideal, whatever we think that means, but the thinness, and it's not always the case. And we know that there's some controversy on both ends of the spectrum on that, but we have to understand the emotions and how we deal with stress. And Lamar, you work with clients. I'm a naturopathic doctor for 22 years. You're a high-end fitness trainer, and working with the mind. Both of us do that, the inner puzzle, that missing piece that a lot of times people go into wanting to be healthy. They go into the diet realm, and 98% of the people gain weight back. Or be, whether too thin, too heavy, or just not liking that you talked about, Lamar, the $1 million desire of what we want to be, to find joy in life. It's more about the joy factor. And we're going to talk about the slow down movement and some of those things that can help us get a grip on what's really going on, and how do we navigate this body, because our body is going to change. It's a moving target, even when we're doing everything, quote, right. And so we're here today to just explore this topic, and we'd like comments to do it as well. But this whole reason why we're doing this today, because our, we know there's some, of course, what's gone on the last 30 years. We've seen, because of the food factories, some of these unhealthy things that cause obesity with, weight challenges is doubled in adults. It's tripled in kids. And we're seeing, a lot of those things that are alarming. And those are some, complications with the factory foods and what they do to the body to make us we don't, navigate the hunger scales and overeating, but it's a lot of these stress levels that have risen, and then not being able to understand the inner mind and how to feel the emotion, learning to look at symptoms by, not attacking them, but just saying, teach me what's really going on with, is it my weight as a teacher? And, not something to fight, but just like, what is it trying to say? Or my fatigue, or low energy, or some of the other diabetes, what is it trying to teach me to be able to shift things? And we can change. So we're talking about, this is a giant show. We're talking about rewriting stories, and to wake up, to be able to look inside, not just doing things for surface or quick fixes that can, things can work short term, but we're looking for long term, right, Lamar?
Yeah, I like how you talk about emotions and stress as well. And I really love that analogy of the suit, Lamar, because for me, I noticed that I do a lot of emotional eating. And so I can reach a goal weight, or I can be healthy, or reach to a point where I feel healthy. And then if a stressor or an emotion happens in my life, I'll find myself moving back into emotional eating. And so I love that analogy that you gave us, so all of our listeners can really pinpoint that in their lives and see and be able to know, okay, this is stress, or this is an emotion, and I need to deal with this stress, or I need to deal with this emotion to be able to move past this and not continue the cycle.
Right.
So thank you for that analogy. I like that for our listeners.
Oh, definitely. And I believe that whole process becomes a matter of people trying to exercise self-control or willpower. So those things are important, and they have a place. But a lot of times when people think of changing or changing behaviors, they're thinking from changing the things that they've kind of have become fixated in their lives. So if a person tends to eat when they're emotional, they say, well, I'm going to stop eating when I'm emotional, and I'm just going to stop doing that. And that willpower works for a little while. But what ultimately happens is we begin to exhaust those mental muscles that actually make change possible. So there's a degree of energy that goes into willpower, or just kind of telling yourself to say no. And that's where we run into this wall and on a regular basis, where we say, okay, you know what? I changed and I try it and it doesn't work for me. And, people come up with these stories behind it. So now they've worked willpower, they've run into a wall, and now they've attached the story of, it doesn't work for me. I've tried all of those things and it doesn't work for me. And if we don't understand that it's greater than willpower, it's greater than just telling yourself on one day, well, I'm going to stop doing this, and understand that there's a whole process underneath that, then we're constantly run into those failures. And I definitely know this is something that Rachel can probably speak to in terms of being able to establish habits and how to go about that as well.
Yeah, we have a couple comments too, Rachel. When you have a moment, we have a couple comments to address as well. Go ahead, Rachel.
Let's take them now. We'll have fun with the comments here.
Yeah, Hugh is asking. Hugh was talking about a few times in his weight loss journey that he has stopped losing weight. And he talks about a couple of different programs that he's been on. He says he hasn't lost anything for 3 months. Am I just satisfied with my physical self? No carbs until the last month. So,
well, I think there's some, programs that can help you kind of tip the scale, but we have to look at our bodies have typical a set point, within, I think this is my coaching for, a 10 to 20 pound range that it'll play with. But if it gets too fast, too soon in your, it likes to be able to get into that window of that set point, so we can shift that set point with some food that we do. The mindset is calming down. We're going to talk about pleasure and some of those things that can relax the body, but sometimes you just have to, it's something to look at and just calm down and relax and let your body know we know our body is based on a functioning and a balancing the homeostasis. So for example, if you're going for a run, Hugh, if you're going for a run and you get hot, your body starts sweating, your body knows what to do. And if you get cold, it starts to shiver and the hair goes up on your arms, so we know we have to trust our bodies, and that it knows where it wants to be. And so sometime when I find somebody gets stuck with their weight, we find out what is the body want to do, and we let it settle a little bit and just relax in it. And it's gonna be able to be better at making those shifts and changing those things. And we can work with the mind. We can learn. I guess you can ask me other questions, Hugh, but you can shift things. But the window of a set point is kind of where your ideals. If you're trying to get too far underweight, your body's going to want to go back a little bit, unless we have some real issues that are going on. But a lot of them are mental as well. But our body will fight getting too close to being underweight or some of those issues until we work those through.
Yeah, and so we have one more comment here from Nicole. She says, if you aren't sleeping and you aren't managing stress, it doesn't matter if your nutrition or fitness is on point, if you're overstressed or not sleeping. And I find that too myself. If I'm, stressed out and not sleeping, then I'll start to stop my weight loss journey, or I may even gain a few pounds. What can you talk to us about that? Are there any tips that you can give us surrounding that?
Well, we all know the basic 4 cores, and I know, Lamar, we got core 4s to health, sleeping, the water, the nutrition, and then the exercise. But inside the other things we'll talk about that are deeper. But I would say for me, I just love the slow down movement of slowing down, and really, you got to get your sleep, and that does correlate. If you don't get good sleep, but it correlates with stress. And so it's really learning to be the deep breaths, and to be able to maybe writing out what stories that you're starting to say based on that weight. And then looking at the scale as, we get stuck on a scale and say, I want to weigh a certain number, but I would say for me, looking at a range of, I say within a 5 pound, for me, I give myself 5 pounds, and I look at a scale, and I used to get on a scale and it'd make it, I think it was, sabotaging me to indicate it's weighing my self-esteem or, whatever. But I started looking at numbers and telling myself a compliment,
Mm-hmm.
like, a compassion statement instead of what I weigh is like, well, I'm doing, you're you kick mama, and saying certain compassionate things. And, but we got to get our sleep. We have to drink our water. We want to eat real food, primarily not factory foods. And we want to know that, we can, of course, we can do different types of exercise. I know, Lamar, when we work on exercise, you can shift your body with some intensity, a short, different windows of exercise to kind of kick that over a little bit and trick the body, or relax in it. If we're doing too much exercise, we're going to struggle too with weight loss as well.
Right. And also, sleep is it's vital because of the fact that during the process of sleep, a lot of times, especially guys, because we get into the ego lifts and the ego builds. But sometimes we work out really hard, we train really hard, but a lot of the healing and recovery happens during the sleep. There are certain proteins that are released during sleep that are not released when you're awake. So if you don't allow yourself the space to heal, and I think sleep, I guess to use the term yin and yang, sleep represents that yin and yang balance, that balance where you've exerted a certain level of intensity, and now you have to, in terms of balance that, allow a certain level of calm and peace to come over you. But that goes back into the mental, because if we're consumed by our thoughts, then your sleep is going to be impacted by the things that you're thinking as well. So it becomes a balance of what you're allowing to come into your space during the entire course of the day, exercise definitely plays a huge part in managing stress, because you're putting your body under a form of deliberate stress in order to increase your stress response. But then if you're allowing the other things in your mind to start consuming you when you're sleeping, your sleep won't be as effective, because now you have these things that are being the weights on your mind, and those are starting to become the things that are preventing you from being able to recover properly. So it becomes a habit, and that becomes part of those four cornerstones that Rachel just talked about.
Well, Hugh, too, I was going to go one more point. Sometime with not getting a good balance, the good fats, I think it's important to know there can be some, I think more in the past, the fat phobic as far as not eating fat, but good fats are essential to losing weight. And it's the essential fats that are the good avocados, the olive oils, and things in balance. And there's a small window, but you got to make sure you're getting your nutrients with the macro and the micro to be able to help the body to do what it's supposed to do, and to trust it as well. So, and we have to love the shapes of our bodies. Sometime we wish that we could have I'm like 5'3", and I always wish I had long, skinny legs, but I have muscular legs. I ran track. I'm fast. And so I've had to learn in coaching my clients with different aspects of health, with that learning to love our body shape. And so when you lose weight, or you whatever you do, you're still the same shape. It's just differently. And of course, weightlifting can help it, be tighter in different areas. But we have to love what we've been given and be our best self, not trying to compete with something that's out there that is real or imagined. I think that can get us caught off. And a lot of times the dieting mentality of the premise, people often think, and I have thought this before, there's a finish line. I'll do this and I'll get off, I'll do the low carb thing and I'll do it. And they lose weight and they're so excited and they go back into what they used to do. It's a yo-yo and a very sabotaging, creating very unhappy factors in life, I believe. And it's just realizing that this is a place to experiment with your body with different things. And there's some core guidelines of essential science behind what is a healthy aging and having good body weight. And even if you're a little heavier, sometimes heavy, they've a lot of studies done in different countries where they're real heavier. They don't have the high blood pressure. They don't have the high, some of the struggles with, that we do in the United States. But when they come to the United States, they have a lot of issues with disease. It's because of our stress, our thinking, and it's the food as well. It's some of the foods that don't have the nutritional value. So there's a lot of things that go together with that. So, it's interesting to kind of work through, but I believe we have to learn to really pay attention. And part of the tribe of giants, the giants, is thinking of waking up to what is true, what is not, what's going on in our head, and instead of running and hiding and numbing and avoiding, versus looking at triggers and patterns and what's really happening and how we're really feeling. And then we'll give some things at the end about what we can do to some of those, the best tips we can give out on the inner and the outer work as well.
Yeah, I love that you just said that, Rachel. I was going to highlight that right before you said it. I hope that all of our listeners heard that giant message right there. You're listening to the Wake Up with Giants radio show, and Dr. Rachel Smart has just invited you to wake up and notice what's happening in your life. Notice the stress, notice the emotions, notice the habits that you have in your life in order to have positive mental nutrition and move forward in a healthy way. She's inviting you to notice those things and deal with those things. So I think that was a powerful message there, Rachel. Thank you.
Well, it is. It's like we don't want to numb our whole life because we're running from past painful experiences. We all have them. We're emotional beings. We want to enjoy food. We want to enjoy life, and a lot of things that make change. I believe there's two things that people do to make changes, and then we're going to talk about maintaining the change. But one is to be inspired. Get information, be inspired by it. And then also sometimes it's the wake up calls. And so I'm going to have Lamar start, but I want Lamar to share what made the shift for you. There's something that happened to your father. And then I'll share what my journey, so that we can, all those that are listening may relate to, you think about what's the inspired part of your life to be that giant, and that being that peak health and right thing, being a really strong in your thinking, to be able to do the thing to give back to the world in the way that we need to. But we have to be aware of the inspired, and a lot of times it's the wake up calls that make us change.
Right. So I guess as I lead into that, one of the things is that like for me, a lot of times it's life became something where we would just respond to the urgency of our circumstances. So, for example, someone would tell you, your doctor would tell you, well, if you don't lose this weight, we're going to put you on medications. And then we respond by doing what's required to lose the weight. And, or the doctor says, well, you're at risk of having a stroke if you don't do something. So the urgency is usually what gives us that push to do something. But usually when it's done out of that space of urgency, it ultimately leads back to doing something simply just to get out of that danger zone and back into a safe zone. And we tend to fall back into habits, old habits. So for me, that was an experience even with my own father, who at the age of 64 passed away. And I would often think like maybe within the year after that, and even up until now, I'd often think about the experience of him being in his 60s. He was 64 when he passed away. And him being that age, what could he have provided for me? And being able to do in terms of being a parent as a man going through my 40s, what can he have provided to me in his 60s that would have benefited me? And then I started to think about my children and what can I provide to them in my 40s now while they're in their 20s. And then when we shift and I'm in my 60s and they're in their 40s, I think about the fact of not being here. What would that impact be? So it really comes down to me really thinking on a bigger term and in a bigger picture, because a lot of times the experience is something that we don't think about until we're there. When we're on the deathbed, like for my father, I believe when he was on his deathbed, he realized a lot of things. One of the experiences I had with him was, I remember he died on April 22nd and my birthday's on April 13th. He called me and left a voicemail on my birthday, but I didn't listen to the voicemail because I said, I'm just going to call him right back, because I knew where I was. I was working on the ambulance at the time. So I know I was just about to finish up in the hospital. I said, I'll call him right back. So ultimately I called him right back. I had a chance to speak to him, but I never listened to the message. So about a week and a half later, he passed away. And then the day that I arrived to in the state where the funeral was, the message, he basically was expressing his apologies for not being able to do better in areas where he's learned that he should have been better. He was able to share some deeper things that growing up he's never really shared. Growing up, a parent of the baby generation, it was a little different, especially for men, because they weren't open. Everything was pretty much the aggressive side and be aggressive. So he began to share that passive side of what we probably look for from our parent, especially from our male figures that we don't really get to see. So when he played that message for me, of course, I broke down. Like I broke down because I've never heard him speak like that, but would never have the opportunity to hear that again. And just knowing that a lot of his decisions that were made earlier in life impacted his health later in life. So for me, it really becomes about kind of shifting back to the mental aspect, grabbing onto something that has value to you. Like, why am I doing this? Because are there days where I don't feel like doing it? Of course. There are days where laying in the bed would be the better option when it's raining. There are days where you just say, you know what, I don't want to do it. And in my programs, one of the things I like to emphasize is that fitness is going to be like life. There are going to be days where you don't want to do it. There are going to be days where it's painful because you're sore. There's going to be days where you like, man, this is great. There are going to be days where you look in the mirror and you say, wow, I can see the changes. And life is going to be very similar to that. You're going to experience those shifts, those ups and downs. But ultimately, if you can find something to hold on to, something that has value to you within that, like for me, it's my children. If you can find something in that to hold on to allow yourself to say, you know what, this is greater than me. It's just like an interview I heard the other day with Nick, where he talked about the tree and the seed already being the tree. Once we become the tree, we understand it's greater than us, because now the tree is serving everything else. The tree is providing oxygen for everything else. So the seed and the tree are the same, but when you get to a space where you realize what you're doing is about serving everything else that's going to get life from you, then you can find the value of waking up every day and saying, you know what, my health is important. My nutrition is important. What I think about is important. And that's where you find the foundations at.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And I want to highlight a few comments here as well. Nick says, great wisdom, Coach Al. Thank you. Hugh says, leading by example instead of suggestion has been huge in his decisions. And I love that comment. Thank you, Hugh. I think that's great insight. It also, what you're talking about really resonates and brings back to me something that Nick had also shared with us this week. It was a video about a rowing team who was striving towards a goal, and they were striving towards a trophy. But I mean, and in our health, we're striving towards good health. So different goals, but the same thing, striving towards a goal. And they weren't hitting that goal. They were upset and having discussions about why they weren't hitting that goal. And their coach said to them, every time you go to do something in your life, ask yourself, will this row the boat? Because they were a rowing team. Will this row the boat? Will this help row the boat? So if you're sitting down to watch Netflix, is this going to help me row the boat? If you're sitting down at the gym and you're working out, is this going to help me row the boat? And I thought it was so profound because you could look at that in every aspect of your life, including mental nutrition, including healthy living. You can ask yourself every day, is this going to help me in my pursuit? Is this going to help row the boat? And I think that even sometimes when we don't have that willpower inside of us and we've lost that drive, we can stand back and ask ourselves that one question: will this help me row the boat? Is this going to help get me towards my goal? And I think that will give us some strength. It's my opinion that it'll help give us some strength to keep moving towards that goal.
Well, it is true. We have to have that deeper why of what we're doing to keep things. It's the long-term factor. We pay now or pay later. And I love the Lamar, you sharing your story of a lot of times we don't really get the laser lens, really focus until we're looking at the end of life backwards. So sometime it happens where somebody has to die, or, death is one of the greatest teachers. So with Lamar, your father passing, you had to really rethink things, and so did he, and the miracle that he gave you that message prior and made you step up to be that giant father that you are, and raising your children and making your health a priority, and so that you can model that for your children, but also be present for your children. And so we have to know that things happen to us so that we can learn something if we choose to slow down and to ask the questions. And then we're doing this so that we wanted to be healthy, so that. And I had an experience a couple of years ago. I was on an airplane and I was talking to a gentleman. He asked what I did, and I told him about some of my courses and coaching and some of the premise around what I do with health and wellness and inner work. He says, well, how do I lose weight? And I says, why do you want to lose weight? And he gave me a real flat answer. And I said, tell me what you really want. If you had your best energy and best health, what would you be doing that you're not doing? So I got him to think a little bit deeper about his children and running, instead of running to play with his children, instead of saying, go play, to be able to take the little Hawaii trip with his wife that he always dreamed of, but he didn't do because he wasn't, positioned to do that. So you have to get really emotional about it so that when you want to not feel like it, like Lamar, you said, you're never going to feel like it. I mean, we don't hardly ever feel like it, but you go, what do I want to feel? With my clients, if I say, what are you feeling? And they go, I'm struck. I feel stressed. I feel tired. I feel unworthy. And then I go, what do you want to feel? Then you say the opposite of words. I want to be confident, capable, able. I want to honor my body. You say those other words of ecstatic and all those things that will pull us over to say, I'm going to get up to work at the gym. I'm going to look at my food and be present and grateful. And because that I want to be there for my kids, or I want to be able to give back into a way that is stellar. So my story began a little different than Lamar. And so I want everybody that's listening to know that it comes a lot of times death, unfortunately, because we're all going to die, but it's a teacher. And my husband was as opposite. He was a tip-top perfect health. His body was, you couldn't have had a better body physically. And he was suddenly diagnosed with terminal adrenal cancer when he was only 37. I was raising 4 little children. He was given 6 months to live. And so it disrupted my idea of health. I thought health was you look good, you have a good weight, then you're healthy. This was about cellular health. So this made me start really researching prevention. And I started really making the connection of, what can we do to extend his life, to be able to set a terrain for healthy cells to thrive and duplicate, and the DNA to be not as damaged. So he got 8 extra years with the things that I teach in my classes and courses with nutrition, because there's some fundamental nutritional pieces that we'll go in later if you choose, but there is some core principles behind health and science behind healthy aging. But it got me on a course to make the to understand the food, and he got 8 extra years, and that whole food does give the edge on life. But it started to help me with the last 5 years, particularly in my course of teaching, that I teach my clients, and myself included, that we would, eat well. There's a science behind all those things, but a lot of the struggle is staying focused and committed long term, to not be this yo-yo, to be all up and down. And so it started helping me to be curious about what is going on really in the mind of an eater, and how do we, the digesting our life is how we digest often our food. So food is a teacher, and how to have a relationship with food to be that teacher. What is it telling us to do? And so it came to help me understand these symptoms of weight, digestion, depression, fatigue, and to look at them as a gift, to say, what is going on? What is driving those symptoms, so that I could sit down at the table, no pun intended, and to pause and to look at our relationships, to look at our work. What is going on with that? And it's really powerful to see clients just wake up and go, I love myself, and not so, and I know, Lamar, you can have some other things I'm sure you can share with your clients, but just to have more compassion and self-love in the process of striving for our very best. Because we don't want to, Lamar, we talked about this before, like sometimes we sabotage ourselves and say, well, we're just going to age and it's going to be what it is. Yeah. It doesn't matter. So there's 2 ends of the spectrum. So Lamar, speak on that, about how we can go, I'm going to hustle and work so hard, but you never have a life, or you're going to let it all go because it doesn't, we're going to get older and life is hard.
I'm going to ask Lamar to speak on that after we have a quick break, if that's okay. All right. So we will all remember that, and we will be back on the Wake Up with Giant show right after this quick commercial break. Okay, we've got 2 minutes, friends. So if you have any little tips that you want to give to anybody on social media, we can do that now. I'm gonna grab a couple of comments here while that ad break is going that I saw, and we just weren't able to get to them. There was one about Nicole said their husband was watching a certain TV sitcom, and in the sitcom they were eating fat-free yogurt and couldn't figure out why they were gaining weight, and it was the sugar. It was the sugar, not the fat, while they kept gaining weight. And Ryan was talking about that too. He was saying fats used in a proper way are excellent. The sugar and carbs can be dangerous stuff. So maybe you can give something special to all of our social media audience about that, about sugar versus fat, and how it's the sugar that we need to be watching.
I could give you a little bit. It's just factory foods they teach the body to miscommunicate and not have the right cues to say I'm full or I'm hungry or to crave. So the fake, it's really about the fake stuff, the fake sugars, the fake fat, the fake, even they have fake protein, all these things that the body is disconnected, and it's not communicating to the right, allowing us to feel what is a hunger cue, or we get off track, and then it triggers us to store fat. And it creates that a physical response as well as a hormonal response as well.
You've got about half a minute, Rachel.
Okay. And Lamar, you want to add anything? We can go a lot deeper on that. It's a whole course.
Yeah. I mean, we talked briefly about saturated fats and how saturated fats ends up kind of locking everything into the cell. Human cells are living things, they communicate. So without the ability to have those cells communicate because of the saturated fats that we consume, kind of prevents
a lot of
processes. There we go.
Hello and welcome back to the Wake Up with Giants show. You're here on Access Radio, and I am joined here. I am Lady Luck, and I'm joined here by Coach L and the smart Dr. Rachel Smart and Lamar Norwood. They are in studio with me today, and we are continuing to talk about mental nutrition. You are what you eat. Now, these two powerful giants have given us so much information already in the first half of our show, and I'm so excited for you to listen more. I believe Coach L was going to go into something right before we went to commercial break. So take it away.
Yes. We talked about so many things. Refresh me, Rachel. Where were we going? I'm sorry.
We were giving tips on the other show, but I think we were starting to talk about some of the effects of cellular wheat, factory foods. They enable or disenable the body to really communicate effectively. We're talking about good fats and bad fats. So the bad fats or saturated fats or processed, they make the outer membrane of the cell to have things not be flexible, and so things don't communicate. And then there's the fake sugars and the fats, and the combination of all these things they put into food today messes up our cues to register fullness, and our cravings are off the chart, and also our bodies store fat because we're not registering fullness. It's things we're still needing to be nourished, because we get nourished based on the nutritional value of that content.
Right. We were going somewhere else, I think, prior to the break. I don't remember exactly what it was.
Yeah, we're all over the place today.
Yeah, but it's all good. It's good. But even just in terms of, getting back to how the mental aspect begins to attack us, there's so much information. There's so many things, and we're almost like assaulted with information on a regular basis. And a lot of times we hear something is good for you, then it's not good for you, and then 10 years later it's good for you again. We go through these cycles of things being it's okay, don't drink it today, tomorrow it causes cancer, tomorrow, day after tomorrow it heals cancer, and it's just so many different levels of things. So, I mean, and something that Rachel spoke on, and something that I just like to highlight again, is that it really becomes important to consume, foods from the outer the outer aisles of your store, so to speak. So your healthy nutrition is going to play a huge role in even how your mind processes things and how you feel about yourself throughout the course of a day. And then knowing that you've allowed yourself to be able to take on and consume healthy things, your body's going to respond in turn in a way that's healthy, and it causes a greater impact in how you feel about yourself, how you think about yourself, and ultimately how you respond to your life.
Oh, there's so many different dimensions, but we know there's some core basic things of health and eating. I always just say it comes down to eating real food. And then we work on the inner work as well. And we set some goals. We're talking today about trying to have a nutritional excellence in your mind and your body, and to be able to be consistent and having joy in the ages and stages of our lives, because we're all getting older. And so I think some of the applications we talk about, maybe we can share, Lamar, some of the mind, how we help with mindset and skill set and action steps, so we can help really give all those that are listening some things that can be helpful. Is just tipping little things. It's not mass action. It's just little things that we do that can be new and effective, that can get you moving in the right way with eating right and thinking right. So, maybe, Lamar, if you want to maybe talk a little bit about some of the mindset of how we talk to ourselves and how we can reframe some of those things when you work with clients. And then maybe we can talk more about other things.
So as you were speaking, it came back to me. So we were talking about the extremes.
Oh,
the extremes of the people who train so hard and they push themselves to the point of just exhausting themselves, or the people who get to a certain point in life and they give up and they say, well, you know what, it's 40, it's downhill from here. Or they just kind of throw your hands up. And some people have the mentality, you're going to die sometime, so why not die happy? I had a partner on the ambulance who used to tell me that while he was about to put a huge with about maybe, I don't know, a half an inch of cheese on it, and just about to scarf that down, tell me, oh, we're going to die sometime. Then we still stay connected. As he got into his 40s, he was like, wow, man, I wish I would have listened to you earlier. This health thing is real. You weren't playing. And it's not that he doesn't know, and it's not that we don't know in general. Just becomes to a point where you have to put in perspective what's really important for you. if you're training to the point where you're training yourself into exhaustion, trying to meet an image or trying to look like something that is in reality may be attainable, but it may not be something that's sustainable over long periods of time. So we tend to look at the social medias. We tend to look at what people say, get your best body in 6 hours and drink this and just keep drinking and drinking and you have your best body. It doesn't work, because one of the things that I said to a client of mine the other day, and he was talking about how he remembered something I told him, because I've actually worked with him some years ago, and then he reached out to me recently to work together again, even though we're doing it remotely. And one of the things he remembered that I told him, or the question I asked him when he was saying that he doesn't see the results as fast as he wants, he said, I remember you told me, you asked me the question, how long did it take me to get to the point where I was this heavy? And if it took you that long, you have to understand that the process of going the other way, becoming healthy, is going to be a time necessary process as well. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to be something that we do in 6 weeks or 12 weeks. And though you can see tremendous results in that amount of time, there was a significant amount of change, and in some cases damage done to your body over the course of years, that is going to require you time, one, to reset your mind, to think about how you approach your health and nutrition. And then once your mind has been adapted to what you're looking to do, then at that point is where you can begin to reset your body, because where the mind goes, the body will follow. And if your mind is still in an old place, in an old way of thinking, your body can look a certain way, but you can feel like you're still fat. You can feel like you're still overweight, or you can feel like you're still worthless, no matter how good you look, because the mind is still trapped in that space. And that becomes the ultimate goal of shifting the mind out of the old space and the stories we've been telling ourselves into shifting into a place of newness, so that our bodies can represent a full spectrum of who we are from the inside out, and not just from the outside.
So good, because at the end of the road, it's really about feeling joy and not in capturing memories. Isn't that what life's all about? Is just, we want to be able to get over the hustle and worry so much. It's just being present. I find a lot of my work as being able to understand the pleasure principle, and to be able to enjoy your food. And we look at different cultures, or maybe look at France. I've been to France and traveling there with my daughter once, and we were talking to somebody that lived in France. She goes, it's really interesting, if you talk to an typical American in some other countries, that you mention the word chocolate, and the first word that would think a person in America would think it would be guilty. But in France, they would say chocolate is celebration. And they don't have the weight issues. They eat and they stop when they're full, because they're eating with they call it the phthalic phase of digestion, where it's about looking at your food. There's about 30 to 40% of your digestion comes from being present and in the pleasure of, we're supposed to enjoy food. It's not a guilt trip every time we sit down, that we can look at chocolate, and you could eat carrot sticks and feel guilty and have your cortisol rise and your body shut down and gain weight, because you're hustling in this. But you could eat ice cream and go, this is it's not like I do it all the time, but if you go, I'm going to plan. I don't like the word cheat. I don't like cheat meals, cheat days, cheat whatever. I go, we're going to celebrate, and it's in wisdom, going to go have this dessert, or going to have this thing, and I'm going to sit down and I'm going to look at it. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to be at a parasympathetic state in my body. It's not going to cause my body to flip out if you don't do it all the time, So I think one of the things I wanted to share a little bit is that rules, you can get weird around rules. Like, I will never have this, or we live in a world that says if you have to be this way to be really healthy, and I'm not going to mention names of programs or things that people say, you have to be, but I say, get rid of the extreme, but live an 80-20 ideal of 80% clean, and you have the 20% of things that you celebrate, and you have guidelines versus rules. So a guideline would be, these are the framework of what I'm going to be doing primarily in my life. These are things that I know that really work. And then working on that inner work of instead of saying I will never have, I say I choose to have, or I can have. Don't say I can never have. I choose to have. And today I choose to do this because I'm working toward this, and then to listen to your body for to nourish it on the inside and out, and then understand the inner motivation. You really have to get really good about what is really going on, and then learning to. I like journaling a lot, where people go, what do we do to make that shift into loving our bodies and to eating for pleasure, and just knowing when to stop, is to being aware of what's going on in your head, the negative statements, and then learning to reframe them, work on that, the affirmations, meditation, visualizing, what you want to do with that deeper why we talked about before, being present with your relationships or whatever, so that you can say, I choose today not to give into that urge.
Right.
And I choose to say, I'm going to plan that in 2 weeks. I'm going to a wedding. I'm going to enjoy this thing, but not cheating. That mindset of cheating, it's not going to work. It's about, I choose to have this enjoyment piece, and I do it in wisdom, right? Just like the sun is good for us, but too much, it can burn you. It's okay. And so I think those are some things to reshape our own values around weight and cultures. We can define our own inner culture, not based on, like you said, Lamar, the what do you call it, the Facebook distortions and the best foot forward, and it's really not real.
Yeah, I actually want to take that one step further too. I think that when we have that piece of chocolate, or we have that hamburger, or whatever it is that and I don't even want to say treating ourselves to, but whatever that is that we're eating, not only should we not put those thoughts out there that it's bad for us or it's unhealthy for us. I think that we should affirm those things and set the intention that this hamburger tastes good, and it's going to nourish me right now. It's going to satisfy my hunger right now. And we don't have to put any negative connotations on it. We don't have to say, I know this is so bad for me, or it's going to put 5 pounds on my on my thighs, or whatever it is. We don't have to put the negative energy towards the possibly negative thing that we're eating, right? We can put a positive energy on it, and we can say, I mean, if I fall into emotional eating, I can say, I'm eating this right now because I'm masking this emotion. I'm dealing with this emotion. I'm going to deal with that emotion, but right now I'm not going to beat myself up for eating this chocolate bar or this bag of chips. And I think there's a couple of comments here as well that the comments are piling up here. So I want to talk about some of them. Yeah, there's a couple comments here. I'm just going to move to them. There's a few from Nicole. Nicole says our emotions about the food we eat impacts our minds and how we digest the food. And so that goes right to exactly what I was talking about. If we allow that negative energy to go to it, not only is it going to negatively impact our body, but we're not going to digest it well. Nothing's going to happen there. And she says intentions we have for food impacts intentions we have for food impact their effects on our body. Yeah. So the intention that we set.
Yes, metabolism and digestion, assimilation. And I'm telling you, people, we always think of the what I call quote bad food, but we're talking about good food. Still, people do that with the other side of the fence as well. It's all about the intention. And I love how you mentioned, Melissa, being aware of, like, I'm choosing, I've got some loneliness going on right now. I'm going to choose this little quick fix. I'm going to eat this ice cream. But it's, primarily we're not doing that as a habit, but being aware of it, I think that calms the body to be a more sympathetic state. So you're not going to have that stress response, and knowing that it less and less through time as you get controlling and understanding habits, but it's okay.
And being forgiving of it, not just being aware of it, but being forgiving of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think putting us in a state, when we put ourselves in a state of guilt and we start to consume, we start to eat those things, because we feel guilty, we'll feel like, you know what, I'm already here, so I might finish it. And that's that psychology behind it. It's like, man, I already feel guilty. Well, I already messed up. Just mess up all the way. Whereas if you're okay with it, just like you said, Nicole, I mean, I'm sorry, thinking of Nicole when I heard the comment, just like you said, Melissa, if you embrace the fact that this is why I'm doing it, and it's okay to do that, you'll tend to not feel like, oh man, I messed up and I'm in this hole, so since I'm already here, keep going. You'll be more mindful. There's a tendency to be more mindful in that space.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I'm gonna admit it right now. I did that last weekend. I did some emotional eating. We talked about it in the league. I had some emotional eating going on, and the first day of that emotional eating, I owned up to it and I said, yep, I got this going on and everybody in the league is being supportive. Yep, don't like, just forgive yourself, be okay with it. But I had bought the junk food because I don't keep that stuff in my house. I had bought the junk food. And the next day I had a little bit of it left over that I hadn't eaten. And I looked at it and thought, well, it's there. I might as well just finish it and then it'll be done. It actually made me feel sick. It did. I ate it because I thought, oh, I'm already here. I might as well finish it off. I did just that. And it made me feel sick. It took me a couple of days to recover because I had put so much junk in. My body was rebelling and unhappy with me. And I really just had the mindset, well, it's here. I'll just finish it off and then I'll be done. And I should have just thrown it in the garbage because I felt like garbage.
Well, I had a lady once come into I do some medical grade ion cleansing. She came in my home and she wanted to start a guideline program that I used. And she says, she came in the house eating some candy. And I said, she goes, can I have this? I go, you can have what you want to have. But I said, well, here's a trash can. Why don't you say and do an anchor and say, I choose to treat my body as royalty and I choose to get rid of the junk in my life. And she actually physically threw the candy in the trash can and, made that statement of like, I choose this over that. And so I want to confess too, I've got a daughter planning a wedding and I have the last 2 days, I've been like a little nervous because it's too much away. So I had a little splurge too. and I thought, it's okay. I had a splurge, but then I went back to my little inner child. I go, what are we trying to do? Numb it. I always teach my clients that a little Rachel comes out and going, she's starting to get scared. Oh my gosh, am I going to throw her on the couch and say, here's the ice cream, shove you away, or I don't want to hear you, versus say, come here, little Rachel, let me give you a hug. Oh my gosh, I need to give you, what are you trying to do? And I said, I need to get organized. I need to quit numb myself. We need to get organized. And then I put my hand over my heart and going, I am okay. I'm going to be okay. But takes the breath. It's amazing what 5 to 10 breaths, moderate breaths. They don't have to be deep. It can be just moderate. Going, I'm getting control of what's going on. What really is going on is I'm going to face the fact that I need to get organized. I don't need to numb it and throw that little Rachel under the bus. So I think being aware of that and knowing that we all are going to struggle. There is no straight road to the top. And one of the biggest things I've ever learned was there is no finish line. There is just a new starting position of like a place of health. Then you go, I'm in a different position. I feel like I can see more of what I want. So we all don't compare yourself to somebody else's best, compare it to your best and different levels of learning. And then when you get to that place, you go, wow, I've really worked on, maybe I'm working on just getting more living food in your plate, or I'm not sabotaging as much, maybe 20% of the time. Then it goes to 30, then 50, then 90, and then you go back to 40 and you have things that happen, but you're aware, better to be aware and going, it's going to be okay. Yeah.
I love when you bring up the little Rachel. It almost makes me cry because I think, oh yeah, I need to say the same thing. Talk to the little me, and it makes me cry because there's definitely emotion behind it, right? There's something there that we're covering up. I'm going to come to the comments a little bit too here, friends, because we've got lots of comments. Nick Smith says, I heard that if you reward yourself with chocolate after a workout, that you are more likely to stick with it. Is this true or false? Talk to me, my friends.
Well, listen, I teach my clients, or, I offer to my clients, if you're going to do carbs, if you're going to do your sweets, earn them. So I don't have a diet and say, hey, do this and don't do that. I'm not one who likes to follow the meal plans because I feel like meal plans have an expiration date. You start them, and then once you start them, you get to the end of them, and then your client is standing like, okay, now what? So I rather reinforce good habits. But as it relates to the carbs, as it relates to the candy or the big piece of chocolate or even a piece of cake, I usually say that if you're going to have that, earn it. And by earn it, that means for me, you're going to go whatever your level of intense of a cardio exercise or a treadmill or whatever that is for you, earn that, because after that type of workout, your body's going to utilize that completely different than if you were sedentary and you ate that piece of cake or piece of chocolate. So if you're going to have it, if you're going to reward yourself, the best time would be after that workout. That's right. Can't waste the ice cream. One of the comments that come in, can't waste the ice cream. But so usually getting in that type of that thing you like. I call it your free food. I don't like, and again, I'm one who also I despise the word cheat foods or cheat meals. I don't even like that. So I usually call it your free food. So have your free food, your free snack after that type of workout. And if it's a sense of reward for you, understanding how much you have, how much is moderation for you in doing that. And if you say, you know what, after I get in my high intensity workout, I can go have that, then chances are, Nick, you'll be back to the gym.
Yeah, you heard it here, folks, first. Coach L is telling you have to work for it first. Coach L is making you work for it. Have your free food, but work for it. Let's see. Nicholas is also saying, but also, what does the emotion of guilt do to the body during digestion? Does anyone want to tackle that one?
We kind of touched on it a little bit, but I really want to go back to that slow down diet principle or the pleasure principle, because you create that calm body, and it's able to enhance, substantially your metabolism, your digestion, and anything that causes your body to get into that stress response. You're not thinking right, so you're going to more apt to splurge, and you're going to have the physical responses you want. I remember once I had a client that he wanted to make changes, and I just said he ate 3 times. Every meal was a McDonald's, like something. So I said, the first week, all I want you to do is set a timer, and 15 minutes instead of eating in the car, which is a stress. I want you to go sit in the parking lot. I just want you to look at your food and eat it very slowly. That's all I want you to do. Eat whatever you want to eat, but eat it slowly with intention. And after the first couple of days, he goes, I hate hamburgers. I hate it. So I would say with chocolate, there's some good chocolates, but I would say it's a habit of always rewarding yourself with something like that after you go, whatever your goal is, it depends on what your goal is, but just do it in a place of love and honor. But one time I had a mom that was telling me about what was going on with her son, and she was teaching him how to, eat more with presence. And he had some ice cream. He goes, this is really good. And she goes, how do you feel? He said, I really feel happy. And she goes, does ice cream, do you want to have more of this? She goes, well, can't I want to eat it. She goes, if it makes you happy, what other things can make you happy? If that's what you're looking at, because he wasn't hungry. He goes, well, are you telling me I can't have this? She goes, no, you can have it. He goes, well, happiness. I'm going to go jump on the trampoline. You know what I mean? So we have to decide, what are we trying to do? Find happiness, or are we trying to get away with something? So I think it all depends on what we're doing, but there are some basic core habits. But love ourselves and enjoy. If you're going to enjoy it, enjoy the thing in wisdom.
I love that. And you know what? That just brought me to an exercise, a strategy that might help in this area. And we talked about this strategy last week. When we were talking about, what were we talking about last week? Maybe it was 2 weeks ago. We were talking about emotions and checking in with emotions. I think that may have been 2 weeks ago. We were talking about how I have a timer set, and that timer goes off twice a day. And my children and we take 3 deep breaths, and we check in with our emotions after that timer goes. And we all have 3 emotions that we want to feel. And I think that is a great strategy for eating as well. I think that if you have that piece of chocolate in front of you, or you have that cupcake in front of you, you can take 3 deep breaths and check in with your emotions, or check in with your health goals, and feel, okay, what am I trying to do with this cupcake? Am I feeling my happy, my healthy, my time freedom, whatever my emotion is right now? And if I'm not, is this cupcake, does it have something to do with it? Am I trying to heal that? Am I trying to heal? Honestly, I just hit me right now. Am I trying to heal that lack of having that emotion with this cupcake? I love that so much.
Well, I love it too, the power of the pause, because you're helping your daughter. What a great mentor. We as parents, just helping our children, because they're going to have a lot more stress. Each generation seems to have more and more stress, but to pause and go, what's going on here? Does this align with the rowing analogy that you mentioned? Is it going to get me where I need to go? And then am I doing it where I maybe only need 3 bites, not do I have to finish the plate? That's something we're taught. We didn't even go into that. Those little myths of like finish the plate, or instead of I feel good. 3 bites, I'm full, and I'm done. I can have that for tomorrow. So I love that. That's really a good takeaway for those that are listening.
I think it's important to teach our kids that too, because lots of times, and actually I did that with my son last night. He had eaten his lunch late in the day and wasn't able to finish his dinner, and I didn't make him finish it. He asked if he could pack it up and eat it for lunch today, and he did. We packed it up, and he got it out and ate it for lunch today, because I didn't want to force him. He was full. I didn't want to force him, and it was healthy food in front of him. He had ham, he had salad, he had peas, and he got it out today and ate it for lunch today. And I love that we can be teaching them those habits. We have a few more questions in the comments here too. Hugh Jacobson is asking, protein shakes before or after a workout? What's better?
So as it relates to protein shakes, depending on the type of workout you're doing, usually I'd recommend a decent sized meal, 2 hours to no more than 1 hour before your workout. I usually do protein shakes during my workout, especially depending on what type of workout I'm doing, because just to kind of replenish the carbs and replenish the protein while I'm working out tends to leave me feeling a lot better. But in terms of getting protein, because protein is a form of repair for your muscles, you definitely want to have some protein at some point after the workout as well.
I think
Excellent.
too is as everybody's body is different. So with me, I've experimented with my body, and I've used to because it's hard to get up early if you're going early to a gym to eat a little
Right.
or water down a protein shake because you want not to have too much when you're working out. But I find for me, and so we're all different, is to work out to do it right after my workout within
Right.
that 15-minute window. But we have to listen and for what my body needs and what it works to bring that result that I want is different than somebody else may want, and depending on how hard you're working out and everything
Right.
else. So
Right.
it's kind of a experimental thing as well.
Yeah, my workout tends to be early afternoon as well. So I tend to have my breakfast and then have my protein shake mid morning, and then I'll do my workout, and then I'll have a recovery drink right after my workout, and then I'll get a salad or something like that in. Nicole's asking, she's saying nourishment menu. What other things can you do to nourish yourself?
Are we
So
talking emotional or physical or emotional?
I think she's talking about menu because it's right after Hugh asked about the protein shakes. What other positive menu items can we do to nourish ourselves?
I got it down, and I don't know, Lamar. I have a lot of recipe booklets that are clean and really clean proteins. There's clean. You don't have to be a vegan or vegetarian, but clean and clean right carbs. It's not carbs are all bad, but the ones with good fiber because it really heals the inner gut. The gut
Right.
and the brain connect, and so a lot of times we have a problem with willpower because it's a function of blood sugar, and the gut microbiome talks to the brain too that registers the different hormones that say I'm full, So I would sum it down to eating. I do smoothie. I got everything that get plants, living food, smoothies, salads, soups, stir fry salmon. I do whole food supplements, things like that. But if you get it to the real food with fiber and good proteins and fats, your body should have balanced blood sugar. You shouldn't have the cravings that are off the chart. You should be able to manage your weight. And then we can do other things with the mind and maybe working with different styles of exercise to flip the scale of to getting past that set point if we want to get lower.
Absolutely amazing. So I know you guys had lots you wanted to talk about today. If you want to continue, I can put an ad on and we can continue on, or we can say goodbye for now. It's up to you guys.
Yeah, I'm available if anybody wants to talk afterwards.
Maybe any
I have a few extra minutes.
Yeah, any questions? Maybe we could answer the questions.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to run our, we're going to say goodbye to our radio listeners now. We're going to wrap this up. I hope that you have all enjoyed this episode 6, Mental Nutrition, You Are What You Eat. Please join us next week for Fitness Beyond the Gym. That is our topic next week. We're going to play our little outro here, and we wish you all a wonderful, wonderful week.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
So we're still on live on social. We're just, we've got about half a minute here before our outro finishes there. Nicole says mental nourishment menu. I should have clarified. She's looking for a mental nourishment menu. If you can give her anything there. I'm just going to watch this extra and finish us off. But you guys can go ahead and continue with social media there.
Yeah, so especially as it relates to the mental side, and it's something that, and I feel like Nicole, you're pretty strong in this area to understand. But one of the things that I tend to share rather would be just to be in a space that goes in line with being able to slow down is the meditation, because again, we're bombarded constantly with thoughts. We're like almost assaulted because of all of the social media and the words and the things in our past and all of the things there. So to be able to just allow that stuff to slow down and get to a space where we can actually breathe, where our minds can breathe, where the thoughts that come through, we don't allow the thoughts to be the thing that every time a thought comes, we grab it and run with it, because that's what we tend to do. And I know I'm big on that. I'll have a thought and I'll tend to think about it. And then next thing you know, I'm supposed to be focusing right here. And I ran off with that thought over there. And now I'm exhausted. So now I have to go back to the bench and sit on the bench again and figure out where was I. Then the next thought comes and I'm running off with that one. So just being in a space where the thought will come, be an observer. Allow the thought to come, observe the thought, but allow the thought to pass, because every thought is not meant to be grabbed. So it would be the equivalent of somebody chasing a dog. Every time somebody comes into the park and lets their dog off the leash, you run after the dog and now you're exhausted. So now you have to come back and sit down and, oh man, I got to catch your breath and figure out where was I and have to start over.
So cute. I love that. I love being curious at your emotions versus being an inner crappy critic, but to not to fight, because sometimes we do that. We tend to just want to berate ourselves, but it's just like, well, that's interesting. I love the word. It's interesting how I would say that. What's true? Is it true? It's not always, it seems true to us, but it doesn't have to mean it's true based on what our parents said or whatever. So I like the mindful meditation, but I have learned that just the 5 to 10 breaths that don't have to be, if you're at a business, a dinner, and you want to get grounded and being able to be present and get really eating slow and being aware of your food and not to overeat. It's the 5 to 10 breaths. It takes a minute. And if you did it moderately, no one knows you're doing it, but you can get a handle on your mind and making better choices using the frontal cortex of your brain. And then one of the things I've learned too is to find support, because we are working within the tribe. That we are the League of Giants. We are so grateful for all those tribal members that if you come together and you have a bad day, when you go in and share it with an authentic voice of wanting to grow, not a whininess, but to wanting to keep rowing and achieving and giving, then we all support each other. And we don't have to be perfect. That's a big lie, that we have to be perfect. And I believed that for years, that if I could just do it and be perfect at it, then I won. That's how I won the thing. And it was the biggest sabotages for half my life. I thought, what a waste to be able to believe the lie that I had to be perfect, because that's the biggest lie of all, that we are imperfect but we can strive, but we embrace the imperfectness to be more whole and healthy and joy-filled and more compassionate and more able to give the world. So I've learned that, so much, the lies that we think that are true, but they're really not when we look at them closely.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And I think that's something that I've learned over the years is along my journey is in every aspect, not just nutrition, that we don't have to be perfect. Why are we striving for it? Why are we striving for perfect? Because there really is no such thing as perfect. Really, why are we striving to be that perfect? It's just stressing us. It's just stressing. So especially for me as a single mom, and even at the time I was a wife, running a family, and the stress of that, the stress of trying to be perfect, be the perfect mom, be the perfect wife, was like nobody could live up to that. When you were talking about taking that pause, it really made me think about something I sometimes do. I will go into the corner store or the store at the gas station, and I'll stand in front of the junk food, and I'll shop the aisles, and I'll stand in front of the chips. I'll stand in front of the chocolate bars, the gummies, and all of that. And I'll say to myself, do I really want that? I'll take a few deep breaths and say, is that really what I'm craving? Do I really want that? And often I will walk out with nothing, because I didn't really want it. Like, you know what I mean? I took that pause and I didn't really want that. Yeah. I just was in an emotional state or feeling something that I wanted to grab for it, but it's not really what I wanted.
Well, you know what I did? It was similar to what you did, but a couple of months ago, I went into the dollar store to get some cards, and I just walked by that candy aisle, and I want those bit of honeys. That was something sometime I get those on vacation, and I just for $1, I just got it, and I put it in the back of my car so I could think about it. By the time I got home, 5 minutes later, I go, I do not. The reason why I got that, it was a stress response. Like, oh, I started working my body. By the time I got home was a pause. I got it out. I go, I do not want this. I am really don't want this. And so I walked to the trash can. I go, you know, an anchor, but it's okay if I had one, but I know sometimes I get triggered that if I get one, it's like, oh, I might as well finish the bag,
Yeah.
But the anchor was, I'm not junk. It's okay to have it, but I choose to have the thing I really wanted in a month or a week, not this cheap thing at the dollar store. So I choose to get the better thing and enjoy it, not the cheap thing. So that's kind of a little trick too, to pick and choose what you're going to have.
Yeah, I've done that before too, where I've like gotten a brownie or a Twinkie or something because I thought, I was a kid the last time I had one of those. I really want that, right? And I'll get home, I'll take one bite and think this is disgusting, and I'll throw it out. I won't finish it. I'll just throw it in the garbage. I'm like, that was an impulse. I don't know why I did that. Not worth it. Don't want
nostalgia.
it. Yeah.
Well, you know what? One thing I forgot to tell you, that there's only 3 weeks we can change your taste buds. So there is a metabolic reprogramming that happens when you eat real clean food. In 3 weeks, you can change your salt cravings, your sugar cravings, and then you eat the thing you want to go, that is not what I thought it was. And so it's easy to get through 3 weeks, that little time period going, I can get those taste buds retained. The whole gut microbiome, the gut brain connection can be fed differently with, plant nutrition, fiber food, and good fats and carbs. Then we're able to make better choices. And then we have a smaller amount of window to work with the negative chatter, because it is still going to be there, but it doesn't scream as much.
Absolutely. All right. I think we're going to wrap this up. Thank you very much for being here. Okay. Thank you to all of our social media follows for being here. And we are going to say goodbye. Don't forget to tune in next week for Fitness Beyond the Gym. And we wish you all a wonderful week.
Have a great week.